everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kathleen, and today's video I wanted to share with you guys all of the books that I read during the month of May. I know that I said during my April wrap-up that I was going to try to be early for my May wrap-up, but of course we're nearly 3 weeks into June, so basically June is almost over and I'm just now doing my May wrap-up. If I'm ever early on a wrap-up, then it's a miracle basically. But I had a great reading month in the month of May. I read a total of 8 books, so let's go ahead and get started. So during the month of May, I actually participated in 2 different readathons, and that was the Asian readathon, which was the entire month, and then Readorama, which was the entire week. So the books that I read do have sort of a theme, and so the first book that I read was part of the Asian readathon, and it is Empress of All Seasons by Emma Kojin. This is a Japanese-inspired fantasy. It follows our main character, whose name is Mari, and she is a yokai who can turn into a monster. The type of yokai that she comes from, the female yokais, they are basically seductresses. They seduce men and they get married to them, and then as soon as the men fall in love with them and marry them, they go and steal all of the riches that the man has basically. So Mari, she wants to make her mom proud because her mom is the head of her yokai clan, I guess. So she decides to become the empress, and in this world, in order to become empress, you go through a competition. Anybody can enter. Whoever wins the competition, that's how you become the next empress. The competition consists of these 4 rooms that are based on the different seasons. So there's the winter room, the summer room, spring room, etc. And so all she has to do is beat the 4 rooms in order to become the next empress. So I did think that this book was actually pretty entertaining. I actually really liked the competition aspect of the book, and I also did like that the romance wasn't necessarily like insta love. There was a lot of attraction there and a lot of understanding between the love interest and the main character, but there wasn't this insta love. I did give this book 4 stars. It was very, very entertaining, and I would highly recommend it. The next book that I read was actually a poetry book, and it was The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. I did read Milk and Honey by the same author, and I loved Milk and Honey. It was a great book. I love how raw and emotional the first book was. I did enjoy this book, but I didn't quite love it as much as Milk and Honey. Milk and Honey, I think I want to say I gave it 4 to 5 stars. I gave this book about a 3.5 stars, and the reason is I just felt like the emotions weren't there as much as the first book. There was a lot of emotions in this book, and there's quite a few of them that I really enjoyed, but Milk and Honey was so much more special, so much more raw, so much more powerful. I felt like this book became too physical. It focused more on the physical as opposed to the emotional, but that's just me. Some people might have felt differently, but I definitely did not enjoy this book as much as the first book, and as I said, I did give this book about a 3.5 star rating. The next book that I read was one of my ARCs that I received during YALLFest 2018. I'm sorry, YALLFest 2019, and it is Loveable Taipei by Abigail Heng Wang. And this is about Taiwanese American girl, and she lives obviously in the United States, and her parents decide they want her to be more involved with her culture, so they send her to this summer school in Taiwan. She obviously doesn't want to go because she was planning on spending the summer dancing and taking dance classes because she loves to dance. When she gets to the school, she realizes that it's not your cookie cutter high-class school where everybody is there to study. There's a lot of partying going on, and a lot of these kids are very rich, so she kind of feels a little bit left out, like an outsider. But there are a few people that she does befriend. This is a love triangle. There are 2 love interests. I enjoyed this book immensely, actually a lot more than I was expecting. I actually gave this book 5 stars. I have read some reviews from people who are actual Taiwanese, and they felt that this book definitely does not represent the culture correctly. I am not Taiwanese. I am Japanese Brazilian, so my culture is very different, but I still enjoyed this book immensely. I liked the main character. The next book that I read was for Readorama, and it is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the 3rd and final book in the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black. I believe that's the name of the trilogy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I absolutely love this series. I read the first book in April, and then I fell in love with it. I wanted to read the rest of the books, so I bought them immediately. I read the second book the same month, and then I read the third book during May. I loved this book. I thought it was so fun and entertaining, and I really liked the main characters. Highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. If you like fays and if you like fantasy, especially YA fantasy, I will highly recommend this series. The next book that I read was the one book that I read during the month of May that I absolutely did not like. It was just a biggest waste of my time, and it was the book that the BookTube Chicks book club read for the month of May, and it is The Betrothed by Kiera Cass. Kiera Cass is very popular for the Selection series. I have read the first two books in the Selection series, which is the Selection and the Elite, and I do enjoy the series. It's not my favorite series in the world, but I did like the series. I gave both of those books like 3.5 stars. They're entertaining. There's reasons why I don't love the series, the main character, America Singer, being one of them, but there are many reasons why I actually love the series. This book, The Betrothed, is definitely not the Selection. It has no plot, let's just say right there. The book does get some plot and somewhat interesting at the last 50 pages of it. This book is about 300 pages. So the last 50 pages is when you get somewhat of a plot, and then to the characters, everybody's pretty much flat. There's no character growth. There's no development. They're very one-dimensional. Like, the king is the king. That's who he is. There's no character developed for him. The main character, she is very immature. She's childish, and she stays that way throughout the whole book. And then the other love interest, he's just boring. There's nothing to him. He's pretty much a pretty face in the book. That's all he is, because I don't even remember his name. That's how uninteresting he is. And I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant. I did give this book 2 stars, and the reason why I didn't rate 1 star is because the ending was somewhat interesting, and also because I didn't necessarily hate the book. It's more like I'm just so disappointed. So if you're planning on reading this book, I mean, go ahead. If you love Kiera Cass, obviously you're gonna read the book just to see what it's, but just don't expect the Selection. That's what I have to say. Do not expect the Selection, because you will be severely disappointed. I read this review on Goodreads, and it's honestly how I feel. And this person said, I had no expectations of this book, and somehow I was still disappointed. And that's me. The next book that I read was Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. And this is a retelling of the origins of the evil queen from Snow White. I actually really enjoyed this book. So our main character, she is someone who wants more out of life than what she has been giving. Her biggest ambition is to be the Empress, or at least as close to being the Empress as possible. She becomes a maid for the Empress, and basically it goes on from there. And we all know what happens in the end. It's not a spoiler. This is a retelling of the origins. We all know she becomes the evil queen. But I really liked it. It was different because she isn't inherently evil. We read this book through her eyes. She's a very gray character. She's not our good main character that we all cheer for. We want the good to win. She's not necessarily the evil queen that we all know from the Snow White story. So it's kind of hard to cheer for her when we all know what's gonna happen in the end. I did enjoy this book. I did give it 3.5 stars. Alright, and then the final 2 books that I read, it made my whole reading month, because I loved the first book so much that I had immediately bought the second and third book, because I was like, I need to read the rest of the series. And the first book is The Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, and in the same month I also read Soul of the Sword by Julie Kagawa. This is the second book. So in case you guys don't know, The Shadow of the Fox is a Japanese inspired fantasy. We follow this kitsune, basically this Japanese magical being who can turn into a fox. She lives in the Silent Temple, and she's been raised by the monks there. This Silent Temple, they protect 1/3 of the Dragon Scroll. The Dragon Scroll, when put together and read from, every 1,000 years, if you read from that scroll, the dragon will appear and grant a wish. The wish day is coming, and so the Silent Temple is attacked by demons because they want to get their part of the scroll. The monks there are able to help our main character escape, and they give her the scroll, and they're like, here, take the scroll, go to the next temple, warn them of what's happened, and make sure that they protect our part of the scroll as well. On her way to the second temple, she meets the samurai. So there's a lot going on, but The characters are amazing. They're so beautifully fleshed out. The story is so interesting. It seems like a lot is going on, but it's very well paced where you don't feel overwhelmed by the story and you don't feel like too much is happening. I would so highly recommend. They meet other people along in their journey who join them on their quest to protect the scroll and take it to the next temple, and there's this beautiful friendship. Everyone who told me that I would love this series, you guys were right, because I love this series so much, and I have to say I think this book has become one of my favorite series of all time. So highly recommend. I did give both books 5 stars. And there you go, guys. That was all for my May wrap up. It's a long wrap up, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I read some really great books and some not really great books, but that's okay. Let me know down in the comments below how was your reading month, because I would love to know what was your favorite book that you read. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. All of my social medias are linked down below, including Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads. If you'd like to follow me on those platforms, I hope to see you guys on my next video. Have a good day, guys, and keep reading. Bye!